So are we all ready
Okay.
to play with sacred geometry today?
Uh-huh. The image you posted for our today's session is so beautiful.
Isn't it lovely? We want to
It
make
looks
one of
like a
those,
moth.
don't we? Yeah.
I saw it just for a little second, but it looked so beautiful. Well,
And
that
it's on
was,
Instagram. I did that last night. I did two, and I'll show you the other one. I just got carried away, and I didn't go to
oh,
bed
yes.
until 2 o'clock this morning because I was,
Oh,
which is unusual. I've been trying to get to bed at a reasonable hour, but it's so meditative, relaxing. Um,
uh-huh.
and
Addict,
it, what's that?
Addictive.
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 Yeah, yeah, yeah. And well, before I start gabbing, I'll wait a little bit. I hope Carol will come along. So what were you up to this week, Suzanne?
Oh, not really very much interesting things. And I was a bit ill and always tired and no.
Oh,
Well, you may find that this is something that you can do when you're kind of tired and have no energy. This is
Yeah.
as mesmerizing as connect the dots can be. Hi,
Yeah.
Carol.
Hi.
Um,
Carol.
you're muted.
Well, I said hi.
Hi. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Did you have a good week?
Oh, I had a great week.
Good, good. I like that. Did you
And
do any new sketches this week?
I have done several actually. I haven't done another sacred geometry one because before I did that, I wanted to experience the radiating lines first to sort of find out a little bit about that. And next, I'm gonna do another sacred geometry one.
Okay, so tell us what the radiating lines are.
Hold on a second. I meant to post pictures.
And the book you showed last time, Chris, is it interesting?
Yes, do I?
The little book, yes. Oh no, you need not
Yeah,
fetch it.
yes, it is. It's a whole series. I think they're called
Mhm.
wood books. And yeah, and then there's sacred numbers and well, again, I'll wait till Carol gets back
Yeah, okay.
here.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had really forgotten about how much fun it was because it was many years ago
Mhm, mhm,
that I came across. Well, I was trying to understand all those rules about drawing and composition and
mhm,
the golden mean and
mhm,
all these
mhm,
things that you grow up hearing about Fibonacci
mhm,
sequence. And you kind of think, all right, yeah, I know what that is. But I didn't really completely. I didn't, know what the basis of it was. So I started to research that, and then I came across the little books, and then I realized
mhm,
that what it was I've been observing and doing all along. I mean, ever since I was
mhm,
real little, like fractals. When I was younger, I was fascinated by the fractals I saw everywhere, but I didn't know that they were called fractals. And I don't even know that they were called fractals back then. But I noticed that the patterns in a leaf were very similar to the pattern
mhm,
in a tree, certain trees,
mhm,
and that trees each had their own kind of pattern or
mhm,
path of growth. And that however the tree trunk split at the bottom was how it continued to split out on the branches, just
uh-huh,
smaller
uh-huh,
and smaller ways. And that's, basically what fractals are. And the same
uh-huh,
thing with the flow of water and how
mhm,
ripples would
mhm,
react. And you just see these repeating patterns
mhm,
that
mhm, mhm,
start. I used to perceive them as waves and almost like music, rhythms and patterns.
Mhm, mhm.
So I did. I became very, very fascinated when I came across the fact that this is something that had been um, used for millennia. Um, and that the planets, the more science would explore into the proportions of things, like where the planets are around the sun and how quickly they move and how slowly they move and their relationship to each other. It's all um, it's all sacred geometry. It's
Mhm.
everything is in proportion to everything else in a related way
Mhm, mhm,
that is really pretty remarkable.
mhm.
And I think that our sensibility when we all have different attitudes about balance. Some people like real symmetrical things.
Mhm,
I prefer asymmetrical things, but there still
mhm,
has to be a balance. If you have
mhm, mhm,
two
mhm,
balls, two spheres
mhm,
that are the
mhm.
same size, they balance each other out. But if this ball is really heavy, you might need two balls over here
The
visually,
other side, yes. Mhm, mhm.
balance it out. So all of that, if you took a painting that you really liked, that you felt was well balanced, doesn't mean that it doesn't have movement or anything to it.
Mhm,
I think, and this, I haven't done this, but this, I might do that this week because now I'm just thinking about it. I'm all excited about this. Um, I think that you could connect those in a way and find that there is sacred geometry within that design that
uh-huh, uh-huh.
that you like. And when if you're working with collage papers and they're not glued down yet, I don't know about you, but if it doesn't feel quite right, I'll move something. And it might be that I only move it a hair, just a hair. And all of a sudden
Mhm,
it works. And if
mhm,
you
mhm.
move it somewhere else just a little bit, it's not quite right again. So the relationship between all the shapes, you'll find a mathematical harmony behind it.
Mhm, mhm.
And I don't talk about this very much because I learned early on that when I was teaching a workshop, I hardly ever had a student who wanted to hear about math and science, ever. Now, I've since run into artists that are just as crazy about math and science as I am.
Mhm, mhm.
But I found that if I presented some of these notions or ideas, many artists and many students just completely shut down. They just don't want to hear any.
Oh, mm,
And it goes back, I think, to when I was younger, and I was even told by my teachers, well, you can't really be an artist because you like math and science so much, and artists don't
mhm.
like math and
Oh,
science. And, that
I
is
don't think
so
that's true.
absurd. No, it's
Yeah.
not true at all. And look at well, anyway, I could go on and on. And Da Vinci,
I was going to say, what
figure,
about Leonardo da Vinci? He was
I,
he was he was fairly good at science and maths, wasn't he?
yes, yes, absolutely. So it is just hogwash. But that
Mhm.
was the feeling in the schools. And
Uh-huh.
um, you, you're a creative person or you're a scientist. And I think scientists are incredibly creative. And
Mhm,
mathematicians, I mean, look at the gorgeous bridges that are made throughout the world. The
mhm,
opera
mhm,
houses, architects. What is that? That is
mhm,
design and math,
mhm,
and the
mhm,
science
mhm.
of weights and material. Anyway, I can,
Yes,
Carol, you
you will
really,
get it.
you ignited.
I got you going.
Yes, you got me going. Yes. Okay. So what are radiating lines?
So I just did this last night because I haven't yet tried doing anything on my round papers that I got.
Oh,
So this is the beginning of what I, can only call as like a radiating from the center grid. And the grid, I just draw in. I draw in a design and I go completely around the circle. It's so weird how it's there. That's better.
Okay. Jill, doesn't that look like a Tansy Hargan color map without the color added to it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, essentially, when you do color maps, I mean, yeah, when you're making a color wheel, that's how that's how I got to these, was through
Yeah.
the color class that you were teaching on Skillshare. I mean, that's how this all got started in me.
Yay.
Mm.
So now what are you going to do with that? Are you,
So this, what I'm doing is I wanted to have, well, I've had this round paper for a while, and last night I thought, I just was crazed and I went, I've got to make a grid on that. But the problem is finding the center,
oh,
because, I don't know. It's like the last time I tried to find the center, I looked up ways of finding the center on a circle, and then none of them worked. None of them gave me the center. And last night I sat down and just put down what I thought was a center, and I was like a half a centimeter off.
wow. Well, I'll
And
show you
I
today
just
how to
kept
do it.
moving it around a tiny bit until I found the center.
Yeah. Well, there is a very easy way.
That's what I read. I read about ways of doing it that's very easy, and none of them gave me the center. It was really bizarre. Anyway, I
Okay.
did it just by guessing.
Well, I will show you, remind me to show you.
Yes.
Okay.
So I want to show you two. Well, I'll show you the mandala I did first. Felt like I couldn't find my notebook. It was right here.
oh my word. These are just so amazing.
Can't get it to focus though.
Yeah, because it wants to focus on your face.
Okay, I'll hide behind it and make this my face.
Yeah.
It's still not working.
You'll just have to take that kind of work.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow.
So I did this in a grid because I wanted to do another grid before I did another one it was like trying to find out what it was about the grid that I liked, so that I would have this contrast when I started the other thing that was really fresh. So the next thing I'm going to do is the grid, with the challenge that you said, with having, like recording what I'm thinking as I go along and what makes me go like, ugh.
Wonderful.
So that's where I'm at, and I'm itching to get painting again, and I haven't painted any of them yet, partly because I'm waiting to make sure I take really good pictures.
Oh, yes. Yes, it is important to take pictures. I didn't post it this morning because, well, I think that I can show you when I share the screen, but the one of the moth, which just ended up being a moth, but didn't start up, it was, when I do the sacred geometry thing that we're going to do today, I never know what direction it's going to go in. And that just looked like kind of a moth, so I let it go in that direction. So that's what I call it. But I did finally photograph it in black and white first before I painted it in. So there's just a little clip of it going from black and white to color and black and white to color. And what was interesting is that when it was just in black and white, as I painted it in, there were shapes on either side that were just left white then, because there wasn't a shape in it, and it was really kind of bizarre looking. So once you start painting it in, you start noticing things about your design that you didn't see before. And then I had to add other things into it. And I love that back and forth. And I also I love the Reeves BFK paper because I can do really nice puddle pulling on it. And then I can put another layer on too. There were some colors that I had to tone down because I was going with the color mapping I did this morning, and I was using that color scheme. Um, and uh, and then sometimes I had to darken it because you just pull the pattern, the design back and forth. Even you're playing with values, and doesn't matter what color it is, but the values really have to be right. So the BFK paper really loves to have other glazed layers on top of it, and you
I
don't
just
pick up, and it's beautiful.
I just got a new paper that I'm doing these on, and I've used it before and I'd forgotten how wonderful it is. It's Stonehenge. Have you seen this paper? It's made in the United States.
I have had Stonehenge.
And it's really great for the pen and ink. I haven't painted on it recently, so I'll find out more about how it is for painting, but it's printmaking paper.
Okay, I like the printmaking paper because it
Yeah.
mixes the colors so nicely.
So I got it because I know I had it before and I liked it. And boy, doing these mandalas with those pens on this paper is just heaven. It's wow. And I got some more of the Winsor Newton pens,
Uh-huh.
and I really really like them. There's just something about them that either flows better or that they're a different shape. They're longer and there's sort of tapered, and they're very comfortable in my hand. Anyway, I highly recommend them.
I think it's really important. I know when I was doing a whole lot of Dala work and I did them on the Reeves BFK paper, and when I traveled, if I didn't bring some with me, I found that it was like going cold turkey or something. I really missed the feel of the drag. There's a little bit of a really wonderful drag, which makes it feel like a connection. It's almost um, just the sound and the feeling of pulling the brush. I feel like I'm kind of caressing the paper with my finger. And I've never experienced that except with the Reeves BFK paper. And it's totally useless for like wet and wet techniques or any, kind of fun sort of the way I normally paint in watercolor. But for these fill in the shapes, it's divine. I'll have to try the Stonehenge.
But it is a very expensive paper, the Reeves BFK.
It is. I buy it by an entire ream. It's a lot
Ah.
less expensive that way. And usually I wait until it's on sale and I buy the large sheets because I make a lot of my sketchbooks out of it. And it lasts me a long time. Um, I think I'm on my second ream of it. But I have quite a bit. Yeah, it's well worth it. Um, I'd rather skimp somewhere else. There's just something when you get the right combination of tools, the paper, brush, the ink, whatever it is, just like the Tansy Hargan watercolor paints are so divine to paint with. I really, really love them. Jill, you find that too, don't you? That they're just delicious to paint with. They re-wet beautifully. Anyway. Jill, do you have anything to share with us before we start
I've been making some more of my bookmark cards and writing Christmas cards, and I've posted them, and yeah, so I've been busy, but nothing to show.
Well,
Still using my prints that I did hundreds of. I've still got some. So and I can tear just a little bit and make like a little tag for a present, and it looks really quite nice. Just a little bit stuck on.
yeah. I think that's just as creative as a lot of drawings that we do.
Yeah.
Everything adds up to.
I quite like doing things that are useful sometimes.
Mhm.
I do
Mhm.
too. I don't make useful things very often, but it always feels good when I do.
And I'm using up
I-
lots of scraps as well. So
yes.
Yeah. Um, are we ready to begin?
yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to go briefly. I'm not going to go into depth with explaining what it is because my interpretation is just what I find useful. But there were a couple of, well, just some basic things. And we're dealing with two-dimensional sacred geometry, not three-dimensional. And I'll explain this. This will maybe just be 5 minutes worth. Okay, so one of the definitions is sacred geometry is defined on the Urban Dictionary as the underlying geometry in nature. It is shapes in nature, fractals, reoccurring patterns, and ratios. Okay, another definition that I found that's pretty simple is sacred geometry is the study of geometric shapes and proportions that are believed to have symbolic and sacred meanings. It's based on the idea that all things are created and unified by energy patterns, and that every natural pattern of growth or movement can be traced back to one or more geometric shapes. Sacred geometry is a part of many religious traditions, including Christianity, Hinduism, and Islam. In these religions, geometric patterns are used to symbolize divine order and harmony. The geometry used in religious structures, such as churches, temples, and mosques, is sometimes considered sacred. Okay, so some examples of sacred geometry are the golden ratio. Do we all know what the golden ratio is?
Yeah.
More or less.
Sorta.
Okay, so I'll read
I
that.
don't really need to know. I mean, I can go look these things up later.
Well, I have it right here. So
Okay.
golden ratio is a mathematical proportion that represents the relationship between two parts, where the relationship between the larger and smaller part is the same as the relationship between the whole and the larger part. The golden ratio is also known as the divine proportion, and its mathematical name is phi. I don't know about that, but okay, so if you want, I'll go into that at another time. The tree of life, a sacred geometrical pattern that is central to the study of Kabbalah, Judaism, most mystical tradition. Kabbalah, Judaism's most mystical tradition. The tree of life symbol represents a path toward oneness with the Godhead. You're familiar with the tree of life? Doesn't matter. I'll show you. The Fibonacci spiral, an example of sacred geometry that shows both male and female energy. So we can talk about that another time too. And then things like, as I mentioned earlier, the solar system. If you look at our universe and the way it all fits together, stays together, it's all proportional. And it usually can all go back to a circle, a square, or a triangle. And a circle would also be like a octagon, anything that fits in with equal sides. Okay. So back in, this I thought was interesting. In 1750, which to me seems like a fairly long time ago, Thomas Wright's The Cosmos. Now, I don't know who Thomas Wright was, and I didn't research him, but he wrote early visions of an infinite universe of solar systems hinted at repeated structures like galaxies and parallel universes. Of course, since that time, they have discovered that there are just a multitude of galaxies and universes. And it's kind of like the fractals, that they're just repeating a pattern, the same pattern in one way or another, like variations of trees. Okay. So that's out of the way. All right. So we're not going to discuss, this is why people don't want to play with it, because they feel like they have to understand all of that. You don't at all. All right, so with sacred geometry, it starts with a point. Okay, I'm going to go through this a little bit slowly because this is, to me, this is the core of it. So you have a point, and the point can choose another point. Okay, so we have 2 points. Now, when you have 2 points, what you've done is you've created a direction. So if you connect these 2 points, what do we have?
Line.
A line. Okay, we have a straight line if we're going the shortest distance. And in all of this discussion, when we talk about a line, we're talking about a straight line. Okay, so you have 2 points, and the space between them, the direction between them, creates a line. And that line is a line that's like an invisible line that has no width. It really has no length, because you can think of it as a direction rather than a line, which means that it continues on that way and it continues on that way. It's so hard because I'm backwards in this, but you know what I mean. So now we had 1 point that created a new point, just chose a point somewhere. And now we have a line. So what can we do with that? Well, if we kept this point stationary and moved this point, it can only go around like that, right? And what did we just make?
Circle.
We made a circle. Okay, so wherever that point is, as long as it's still attached with that line in the same distance, it's a circle. Now, let's say we have a circle. What happens if we rotate that circle on an axis? What do we have?
Get ovals.
What?
Would you get ovals?
No, it's a circle.
Yeah.
It's not an oval to start with, but if we rotated it on its axis all the way around, what would we have?
A sphere.
A sphere. Yes, okay.
Oh, I
That's
see.
going into the 3-dimensional. Okay, we're not going to
Mhm.
do that today, but that's the simplicity of starting with a point. It chooses another point, creates a line from which we can get a circle, or from that circle then take it the next step, rotate that around, and you have a sphere. Okay, so the other thing, now we have this 2 points and a line. This second point can go ahead and pick another point that is the same distance from these 2 points. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, and they're all the same distance away from each other. So these two, what did they create now?
Another line.
Another line or another set of directions going this way. Okay. And now there's a relationship between this third point and the first point. And what does that create?
Another direction.
A
And another
triangle.
line, right? And what are we looking at now?
Triangle.
A triangle, an equilateral triangle. Okay.
Yeah.
So now we have 3 points, 1, 2, 3, and we have 3 lines. So now what can we do? Well, we can pivot these 2 lines. So we're separating that third point, and we can pivot it around until these 2 lines are equidistant from each other all the way up and down. All right. And how many points do we now have?
4.
4. Okay. So we went from 1 point which made a circle. 2 points made a, I'm sorry, 1 point just was a point. 2 points made a line. It also made a circle. And that circle made a sphere. Then we had 3 points, which made 3 lines or 3 directions. And we made an equilateral triangle. If we separate these, and it's equal all the way up and down, and now we have 4 points, and between this point, the top of this line and top of this line, those are 2 points. What do we now have another one of?
We have a square.
Right, exactly. We have a square. Okay, so going back to the triangle, there are 2 things we can do with the triangle. We can rotate the triangle around its axis like we did the circle. And what do we get if we rotate a triangle around its center axis?
A pyramid.
Or a tetrahedron.
Yes, but yes and no. That was going to be the second shape we made, was a tetrahedron. But if we just go all the way around.
Yes, a cone, or what do you
Yes.
call it?
Yes, a cone.
A cone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the bottom is a circle. And so we have from the triangle, we can get either a cone or a tetrahedron. Okay. And another time I'll show you the tetrahedron, but we're not going to worry about that. Going to the square now. Okay. So what happens if we rotate the square around the center axis?
A cube.
Well, that's the second thing. What if we just rotate it? If we rotate it,
A cylinder, a cylinder.
yes, yes, we have a cylinder, okay?
Aha.
Like a coffee can, okay? And if we take this square, put it on a table, and then lift it up so that it's equidistant, the same distance as its lines, then what do we have, Jill?
A cube.
We have a cube, okay?
Yeah.
So
6
from
faces.
that point, from 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, we have all those shapes. And from all those shapes, we can get all the other shapes possible. All of them. Okay. All the geometric shapes possible by subdividing them in different ways. Okay. So that's
So
it.
does that relate to the platonic solids? Because are there just 5 platonic solids?
Yes, it does relate to them. Yes.
Just, you don't have to give a lecture on it, but just
yes.
there's a
know.
limit, isn't there, to the number of,
Right.
I seem to remember from sort of like 50 years ago.
And there is another one of those little books that I showed you on the platonic
Platonic solids.
Yeah. Okay. So, I would be happy to talk about this till the sun goes down and comes up again and goes down and comes up again. And goes down. But I'm
Okay.
not going to. We're going to get to drawing right now. Okay. So, I will. I turned it into a PDF that I'll post someplace for you to be able to access. Not a big deal, but anyway. Okay. So are we ready? We're going to just do a little drawing review of what I just said so that it's printed in our heads visually. And then we're going to play. Okay. So I'm going to switch to, hopefully I tested it before. Jill can attest to that. Let's see if this is going to work for me to switch the camera to, I think, Chrome Desk View. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Don't think I need to be plugged in. All right. Do you want me to make that bigger? What are you seeing now? Are you seeing all four of us? I mean, are you seeing,
Seeing your hands, seeing a piece of cardboard, piece of paper in the center in your hands and your pen.
I think it's fine.
okay, so for the
Fine.
recording, they'll alternate to where that's bigger because view. Okay, so if I'm talking now, is that,
Yeah, like speaker view will put it to you as long as you're talking.
okay, that's not what I want
And
then.
I can do that on my own.
Gallery, follow change. How do I do it just for this?
It's okay, Chris, we can see
Okay.
it.
Okay, so we started out, we had a point. Okay, then we picked another point. And then, so that created a line. And if that line rotates around, we have the circle, right? Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fine.
So then the next thing we did is we had a point and another point, which made a line. And then this point number 2, it was its turn to pick another line, and it picked a point, and it picked another point that was equidistant. This distance, this distance, this distance was all the same. And that made a triangle. And if we rotated that around like that, we ended up with a cone. And if we flipped it around another way, we ended up with the tetrahedron. Okay. Then we took 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, and we separated this and moved this out this way. So that the distance here was the same all the way across. And then we ended up with our square. Okay. And if we rotated that around there, we had the cylinder. Or the cube. Okay. So we started with one thing and we moved, not really changing, just moving parts of the thing without going completely away from it. So oops, that was the other drawing that I did last night. That's also sacred geometry. Okay. So now what, do you have your compass ready?
No.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've
you
only got a
need-
tiny compass.
That's fine. The compass that I was using,
Quite normal.
you know, is just actually my better compass was moving around on me. So
It's just very small.
how small is, oh, it is tiny, but still it'll work. So you're going to make
It's only 1.5 inches there
Oh.
between.
okay. So you're going to make tiny circles.
I've got one.
This is Rob's very precise mathematical tool.
Okay. So I want you to draw a line.
Does it need space below it? You've drawn it at the top of the page.
Well, just because I'm going to do what I'm going to be doing is redoing this one circle it's awfully light, so that's where I'm going to do it again. 2 circles and then more. So we're going to walk through this together. And you can use several sheets of paper. You've got such a tiny compass that you probably can fit it all on half a piece of paper. Okay, so draw the line and then put your point of
draw a
your
line.
compass in the middle of the line. I couldn't find my decent compasses. Okay, then you're going to draw a circle. Ignore this. That was just skittering
Oh,
around.
got it wrong already.
Is that good? Have your circle?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Does the circle need to be in the middle of that line?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to draw a
Oh.
line right there so that I know that I'm not always looking for the hole. That is my center.
Just in the middle. It needs to be just in the middle of the line.
It doesn't have to be exactly in the middle, but you need to have room on either side to, what you're going to do is you're going to
Yes.
your
Okay.
compass. We're looking for intersections, okay? So the whole thing about making patterns, this is like the 3-point design, which I think there's a course on the website called 3-point design, or there should be one on Skillshare, but it was an exercise that I would do in live workshops, and people just loved it. And it was based on sacred geometry, but we weren't using compasses. I mean, you could if you wanted, but it was a variation on this. Okay, so the intersection, you have 2 intersections where the circle intersects the line you have, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
So you're going to put your compass, center of your compass, on both of those intersections, and you're going to make 2 more circles. And don't worry if it doesn't come out exactly, because most compasses will move a little bit or. So now you should have 3 circles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what you can do, and because I don't want to take up too much time, you can go anywhere. There are 2 things you can do. You can go to any other intersection with the same setting on your compass. All right, let's say you go here. Oops. Okay.
Yep.
Now, you can also, with your straight edge, you can connect any 2 points. So you could, and what I do is usually draw a very faint line, because when you go to ink it, you may not want it all to show. So I connected those 2 points with a very faint line. You probably can't see it, so I'll make it darker. But on yours, you want to do it pretty faintly. Now you could also, there's no
intersection there at the bottom.
There's
Or
an
at the top.
intersection, there's an
Oh.
intersection, and there's an intersection. This line was my
Okay.
eraser, my compass slipped.
Okay.
So you can connect any lines at all. I can connect these 2 lines. As long as they're intersecting. Okay. Now you can also use the intersection of your lines to work from. if you want to change the size of your circle, you must use one of the dimensions. Like, can you see this? Is that visible? There's a tiny little, there are two intersections here on this larger circle where the line went through.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can pick the end of those two intersections with my compass, and I can make a smaller circle. Okay, now I have that dimension. So I can go to any point on here. Let's say I go to this point, and I'm not changing it because I already have that dimension over here. So I'm not reintroducing anything that I didn't take from this design I'm making. I'm not arbitrarily making a size. All of the sizes that I come up with are from measurements that have already been created by intersections. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So then maybe I'll get another line. And maybe I'll do another straight line to make it parallel to there.
This is mind-boggling. I just found something that I didn't expect to find. I don't know why I didn't expect to find it, but I draw two perpendicular lines and I ended up seeing that I could make squares.
Exactly. You're
And
gonna
that's what you're talking about. And I just found that on my own and I just thought, oh man, because now I'm like back at my original question of like what's different about making the grid as opposed to doing the circles, but now I see that there's squares in there too.
Yes, and all kinds of things. Okay, I didn't show you these pictures going back. If you can make great shapes just with keeping the circle the same size. You can go all the way around. If you do every intersection from your 3 and then make 2 more will fit up here, starting from these 2 intersections and 2 from these 2 intersections. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 around. Okay. Then you can add to those, and do you see the patterns that you've recognized from other like stained glass windows and things? They're all circles that are being made from the intersections. And then I did this one, which is this pattern. Oh, without the extra up here, and then turned it into the neuro art.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just doing this, but then I wanted to show you how, yeah. So this,
Lost it. Carol's lost it.
Oh my God.
She's away. She's away.
this is doing more like what we're doing now. And I didn't intentionally make that triangle, but that triangle, appeared from the other, and here's a square, and here's a square.
But mine is already going off all sort of unsymmetrical. Yours is
Right.
so symmetrical.
No, this one is because I did it that
On
way.
purpose. You did
Yes.
it on purpose.
Yes, whatever I did on one side, if I got a different measurement, I would do the same thing on the other side when I did this one. And also when I did the moth. Okay, and the moth is in this book. Oh, Carol, I wanted to show this to you too. This was from Tansy Hargan when we were color mapping different postcards.
Mm-hmm.
And but I got tired of doing it this way. So I did it in the circle,
Wow,
Oh,
which was
beautiful.
also really, really fun and with different proportions and things. But there's the moth.
oh
Wow.
my God, that is just so amazing.
Is that in focus?
Yes.
Okay, so you can see that I did things symmetrically on either side. Now in these areas, I once I had a shape, the ones inside, like this was a whole shape, which ended up being white. And well, I'll post the photo of that and also the where it's changing from black and white. It was just this hole in the wings, which I didn't like. So I drew these in just freehand. You can then make patterns inside of your shapes. But what the sacred geometry that we're playing with is doing, like these, I didn't do with the compass and all. I had an overall shape
Yes.
like a Zentangle or like
Mhm.
the Dala art where the structure is your basic shapes. And within those shapes,
You play.
what? Right. So in this one that I started you off on, you can go anywhere you want. It's not going to be symmetrical. You can do it either way, whatever your mood is. Sometimes I feel like I had such a good time when I saw that it looked like a moth. I was just delighted. Uh, and I'm happy with it symmetrical. But I have tons of fun making things. This is more like the studio art that I do, where it's not symmetrical. Um, I think that both are really good for developing your sense of design and to pay attention to what you feel like, oh, okay, so I'm feeling like something should go down here. Well, I've got to get a dimension from someplace. So if I'm going to go from here, I'll take this dimension. Okay. Can you see where I'm going to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you want to just do half of it, you can. I don't think I'm going to, but sometimes I will do just half of it. And I didn't connect that, but I think I will because when I ink it, I'll decide what I want to leave out and what I want to remain. So this is what we're going to do. We're just going to play with our design. You can start a new one if you want. Okay, let me see what time it is.
154.
154. Oh gosh, goes too fast. Can you go another half hour?
I can.
Yes. Yes.
Can you? Jill, can you? You're muted.
Yes, I can, but I draw the line at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay. So we're going to go for okay, let's just go 15 minutes and then we can share what we did. Okay?
Oh, pressure.
Yeah. So 15, actually 16, 17 minutes.
Mm.
And just play. Don't worry about any of it. If you want to go ahead and ink some shapes, go on and play.
Pressure. So do you ink just freehand?
Yes, I do.
You go over the pencil lines.
Not all of them, just the ones. so on this, and also on the moth, you can see a lot of pencil lines. Can you see a lot of pencil lines? That
Oh,
are-
yeah, at the top, yeah. Okay, so you've just kept the ones that pleased you.
Yes. And I
Okay.
don't necessarily, I didn't ink the whole thing at first, and I just started somewhere. And when I needed another shape, I would find a place that I could create the other shape using the sacred geometry. But within the shape, I can do things freehand if I want.
And you can add straight lines wherever you want them.
Well, they have to go through 2 points.
Right, but you can
Yes.
use straight lines as well as circles.
Yes, absolutely. You want to. I mean, you don't have to, but
Yes.
even if you don't end up with a straight line in your final drawing, a straight line through 2 points will give you other measurements and other intersections from which you can draw a circle.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can just
Get
use them
another
as a
line.
hidden framework if you want. Okay, what do we have going on?
Wow.
Was that fun?
Yes.
Wow, that's cool.
Beautiful.
It's upside down, but yeah, see, this is different from others that I did, and there's just no telling how the rest of it would evolve. So who wants to share theirs?
Oh, I just have a big mess, and I wanted to start. Okay, let's maybe like this. You see mainly only circles. I will try to work a bit with it. I didn't know. Now I wanted to look for shapes.
Okay, well, it takes a long time. This isn't
Oh, yes.
a speedy process at all.
No, 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 no.
And feel free
Certainly
to
not.
use color with it too,
Yeah.
because it's a lot of times I would do this because I would always have a sketchbook and I'd have a fountain pen with me. I'm trying to switch it back to the other camera, but oh, there we go. Let's see. Uh, there. Okay. Um, and if I got the urge to put a color in somewhere, and usually it would be red because I find red, black, and white really striking, I would just leave it and maybe add it later when I got home. But if you feel the urge to add color, add color. This is just all about exploring and being tuned into how you feel about it.
I found myself getting frustrated again.
No.
It's
Okay,
so
let's look at
it's
you.
just so interesting. It's not like a bad thing. It's just it's really curious to me to sort of find out more about what that's about. But this is what I've got so far.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And don't you love how different they can be?
Yeah, but I don't, up at the top, I didn't, at least right now, I feel like there's need for more circles and lines.
Exactly. And
It's a really, I stopped and started inking before I probably would have if I felt like I had more time, so I can keep moving it.
you can go back and forth between them.
Yeah.
No, the first stage is just to get it going until it starts to speak to you. And once it starts to speak to you, you can go back and forth between the ink and the ruler and the compass. And when you see something else, you look for a measurement that you can get to use it. And yeah, I mean, if I printed out just a black and white of the original pattern and gave it to each one of us, what we decide to ink and how we decide to ink it would be so completely different.
That might be really fun.
Yeah, I think it would be.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then we could psychoanalyze it or something.
Yeah. Okay, so there's that. And what was the other thing I was going to do? There was something else. Oh, darn. Well, it's probably a good thing I forgot it.
I want to
Okay.
see what you've done, Jill.
Yes.
Right, well, mine, you won't be able to see probably. It's just all in pencil. You probably can't see it. No.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
No problem. You see, this is so precise. In order to alter this, you have to screw this little screw.
Yeah.
It's very,
what I
very
have.
accurate, but it's very slow to find a new measurement,
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
The same kind.
Yeah, yours is, yeah.
Only this is big.
Yeah, this is so small. And then I found that I can alter this because it was my late husband's really, and he had very nice things. And so I've only just found that I can alter this and
Yeah.
yeah.
So
fun.
Jill, I think that there's a larger compass or a compass kind of like this in my drawer.
Okay. Well, I
Right.
think I've got somewhere a larger one of these.
Okay.
But I've got lots of circles that I can
To
start
work from.
to
Yes.
work from. Yeah. I'm
And
not displeased.
good. I mean, you
Just
can do wonderful things with that in any way you want. You can take a pencil and shade in areas if you want.
Yeah.
It's just a starting point for a structure of shapes.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you work out from there. And if you feel like doing just freehand things and stepping away from the sacred geometry, please do. You know, um, it's a means to an end, and there's a harmony. That's the nice thing about working from dimensions that you're creating. and not just arbitrarily coming up with a dimension. No matter what you do, there will be harmony throughout. And it's really quite astounding how that's true. You may want to change a value like I did with the moth. I darkened some areas in to accentuate some other movement through that. But it was harmonious throughout from the very beginning, regardless of how I painted it in. Because there's a proportion going on.
You can't stop us working. Look, everybody's
Yeah, I'm like,
everybody's carrying on.
Yes.
So we come back in an hour and see what we've done.
Well, okay, so carry on. You don't have to stop. I'm going to stop the recording because I have to go take Jane square dancing. So I have about an hour to drive to go pick her up. But please continue.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And
Yes,
then we'll
thank you.
post it, okay?
Yeah.
So this is fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are all kinds of variations of this that I'm more than happy to share.
Chris, I wanted to ask you, how much does it cost you to make these Zoom sessions here?
I think that
The-
I pay $100 a year. I think that that's all for my
Okay,
Zoom.
yes.
Yeah, the Zoom is a very small part of
Uh-huh.
the
Of
whole.
the $2,000.
Yes, and I'm working on actually I've got a couple of ideas that I'm trying to work through my head because the website is a great resource, to be able to just stash things like all the videos and that you can look at again are taped recordings, so I'm just I may have to go back to exhibiting paintings, sell paintings just to pay for this because it's so much fun. I don't know. I'll figure it out somehow. But no need to worry because
Mhm.
no matter what I do, we're still going to have our Monday sessions. All right?
So we could pay a bit more to
Well,
contribute a bit more.
you can always contribute more if you want, but I'm not asking for more. I'm trying to come up with other ways where I don't want to push the marketing of it because I really just want people that are really interested and will grow from it. That's the point of it. So yeah, and I don't want to take the time to promote it because it's exhausting. And so if you come up with good ideas, again, I'm all ears for ideas, but we're just going to keep this going, and we're going to have a fabulous winter. It'll be good. So please do post on the forum, like even partial things so that we can share with each other because our hour goes so quickly. We may have to extend it to an hour and a half.
I was sort of hoping you might come to that because it just seems like an hour.
Yeah, or at least on our live studio. I mean, all of our things end up being too fast, but maybe the studio sessions should be an hour and a half to 2 hours I just don't want to take up too much of your time. We'll figure it out. Write your thoughts down and put that in the forum too, and we'll just make it work for us.
Carol, you said that you looked at the video on YouTube. It was a very interesting video you told us last time.
Right. I actually sent that link to, I think I sent that to you, Chris, but maybe I didn't.
Would it have been in an email or?
I don't remember. I'll post it on the forum.
Post it to the
Okay,
forum.
okay. And I'll look again too because it's just life here has been distracting to say the
Yeah.
least.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'll post it to the forum.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And then there, I'll make a note. There should be a page. I know that I started some pages that just list the artists we've been looking at, and it would also be great to just have a page that has links that we've shared, so we don't have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. So I'll try to keep that in mind too. And I don't mind being reminded about these things.
So I have a question about the forum.
Yeah.
When we post, like if I post an image to the forum, is that image available to anybody on the web, or is that just within the forum?
It's just within the forum, because the forum, the only people who can get to the forum are people who are members of the artist journey.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because one time when I was posting it, it gave me a drop down. It was like post to this place or post to more, and it, I don't know. There was just something that happened that made me wonder whether or not it was just open to the general public to see what we were posting, because I didn't want that to happen.
No, I don't want it to happen either, and I will
Okay.
check and see if I get that same message. I think it probably is asking you if you want to post it here or post it in another circle too within
Yeah.
artist journey.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, and things change all the time. So if there's ever anything that comes up like that, let me know so I can check. Because no, I don't. It's not. I don't want anybody to worry about what they're posting.
Right. I mean, so that it, I just wanted to know that for sure, so that if something happens like that again, I'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah. If it comes up, then take a screenshot of
Okay.
it so that I can see, because sometimes things don't come up the same for me
Right.
unless I'm in an incognito window, which I don't go into that much, but yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. God,
Good.
this is great.
You're welcome.
This
And
introduction.
you may not get much done this week if you
No.
get into this too much. And you can always calm me down when I get overly excited about these things. Because it's
No need.
okay. All right. So
Thank you very
so
much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
Great
Thank
to
you
see
very
everyone.
much.
Bye-bye. See you next
Bye.
week.